Hello everyone, Republic Jim here, just on a Sunday morning camp out after spending last night. Got my breakfast going, waiting for the coffee to perk, and while I'm waiting for that, what I wanted to discuss is a little bit about winter car preparedness. And now the neighbor's tractor is making a racket. But anyway, there are plenty of sources like AAA and Department of Transportation and ready.gov that give information about preparedness for winter driving and what to carry in your car for emergency supplies. It certainly is important to have a blanket or a sleeping bag and something to help with traction, and of course a shovel. However, they rarely describe what kind of shovel, and I recommend some sort of scoop shovel, preferably metal, just because that is a lot more effective for shoveling snow out from underneath a car than a standard shovel is. It's also pretty good for mud, and I've found by a practical experience it's also even pretty good for knocking out grass fires. But not that that's a big concern in the winter, but it's just a handy shovel to carry around in the car. So I would advise that rather than just a standard digging shovel. But a couple of other things that I wanted to mention, especially for areas in the north where it tends to be snowier and you have more trees. This may not be as appropriate for areas that are just high desert, but for the area that I live in with lots of trees and lots of snow and that sort of thing, I think one thing that they sometimes mention, but not necessarily in the same way that I'm thinking of, is road flares. Yes, they do come in handy for putting around your car if you get stuck in the snow, so people can see that you're there. But they're also a really great emergency fire starting option. And if you're stuck somewhere in a remote area for quite a period of time when it's hot, when it's really cold, you're probably going to need to start a fire and get warmed up. And having a road flare really takes away a lot of the fiddling with matches or ferro rod or lighter or whatever. You get your firewood prepared and light off that road flare, and you can have a pretty hot fire going in not much time at all. And then the other item that I think is important is a saw. And that could be a chainsaw, but it doesn't have to be. I personally just carry a large folding saw, and it's a little more effort than a chainsaw, but chainsaw is great if you have a pickup with a canopy and you can put it in the back and keep it secured, and the gas and everything is separate. But for those of us who drive SUVs of any kind, or a sedan or whatever, nobody really wants to have a chainsaw sitting in the back and stinking the place up, and it's just kind of a hassle. But a folding saw, even a good sized one, is fairly compact. You can just stash it out of the way and still makes pretty short work of cutting through logs. And that can come in really handy if you come across a tree that's blocking the road. There are frequently times in this area where trees will blow down, and if you don't have a saw and the tree is too big to just muscle out of the way, then you could be sitting there for a while before somebody else comes along to help out. So it's really nice if you can cut it up into smaller chunks and get it out of the way. And then also that same saw makes it a whole lot easier to collect up firewood. Again, if you need to get a fire going, you know, yeah, you can gather up all sorts of small twigs and such, stuff you can just break by hand. You can even break some slightly larger stuff over your knee or by wedging it between trees and reefing on it. And of course, if you have a hatchet or something, you can hack away at larger stuff. But a saw just makes it so much faster and more efficient to cut wood. And my coffee pot is starting to perk now. That's a good sign. Anyway, but I highly recommend anybody that lives in northern areas where it gets cold and there is a ready supply of firewood, you know, that folding saw can be really vital if you get stuck somewhere. So highly recommend that. Of course, there's all sorts of other items that you could carry, and you know, some of those are covered by the standard stuff, and some of it you just kind of have to get a feel for by doing campouts, or if you do get stuck, seeing what you really need. But hopefully these thoughts will be of some use, and you know, you can learn something from it and hopefully be better prepared for your winter driving this year. That's it for now. This has been Republic Jim. I'll talk to you later.